Hello, welcome back. Today is May 30th, 2022. Today I wanted to talk about my experience working for an Eikaiwa. For those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that for a year and a half I worked for one of the biggest Eikaiwas in Japan. And previously I wasn't revealing the name of the Eikaiwa because I was under contract and I still don't really feel comfortable revealing the name of the company I worked for, but if you are curious, please send me a message on Instagram and I'll let you know. Now I feel ready to talk about what it was really like working for the Eikaiwa, the pros and the cons, and how my year and a half at that company went. I hope this is helpful for anyone who is considering working as an English teacher for an Eikaiwa in Japan. Before I start, obviously everyone's experience varies, where you're living, the people you're working with, the company you're working with, all of this plays into what your experience will be like. I am just sharing my personal experience. If you did have a different experience, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about it. But anyway, let's get started. So first, if you don't know what an Eikaiwa is, it's basically an English conversation school. Most of the time you're teaching both adults and children. There are some though that are just for children or just for adults. The one I worked for was for both adults and children. Let's get right into it. I know what you guys are here for. Let's start with the cons, the bad things. So the company I worked for, it was very much a Japanese company, which is very long hours. I would leave my house at 11:30 a.m. and I wouldn't get home until 9:30 p.m., which was 10 hours later. I did have a 1 hour work break in between, but it was unpaid and I very much did not feel like a break, if you know what I mean. I would eat during the lunch break, but I felt like I was kind of just trying to quickly sustain myself so I could get back to work and do a good job teaching my next class. Sorry, I just cut my bangs like right before recording this and I realized I did a terrible job. So yes, another bad thing about working for a Japanese company is the dress codes. So there's really strict dress codes. As an English teacher, I kind of wanted to dress like an English teacher, but working for a company, a lot of them require you to dress like a business person. So I had to wear a full suit every day for work. Not only a full suit, but I had to wear light colors as a female. I don't really like wearing light colors. I feel like it doesn't suit me. I don't feel confident, like I don't feel like myself. I feel like I could have actually done a better job teaching if I was able to dress how I wanted to and be more of myself and feel confident while I'm in front of people talking. There's a lot of weird dress codes. I have tattoos, so I had to cover those up every single day. I had to put tape on them, and every day after work I would like take the tape off and I would have like irritation under my skin. I tried a few other options, like on Amazon I like bought these like sleeves, like skin colored sleeves to put under my clothes, but I have really tiny wrists, so they didn't stay on very well, so I had to do the tape thing. I've heard people had success with makeup, but I couldn't be bothered with the time to like put makeup on my tattoos. So anyway, yeah, the dress code was a little weird. I had to wear makeup, but not too much makeup, just like a little bit of makeup, but a little bit was required as a female employee. That's something that is like not heard of in America. The company would get sued real quick if they were putting these gender discriminatory dress codes on their employees. But yeah, Japan is still a little behind in that kind of area. So yeah, you gotta just follow the dress code of your company. There's no fighting it. Next thing that was pretty taihen about working for an Eikaiwa. So naturally, you were an English teacher, you are not allowed to speak any Japanese in the classroom. The reason I came to Japan was to learn Japanese. So this kind of sucked for me. I get it, I'm totally fine with not speaking Japanese with the students, but all of my coworkers were Japanese. I was the only foreigner and I wasn't allowed to speak Japanese even in the office with my coworkers. So I went 10 hours a day without practicing the language that I came to this country to learn. That was kind of the main reason I quit, actually. Not being able to practice Japanese was definitely one of the downsides of working as an English teacher at an Eikaiwa. Whereas on the other hand, as an ALT, if you're working in a public school, you are encouraged to, in the office, speak Japanese with your coworkers and bond with your coworkers. I mean, all my coworkers were so good at English. I had a great relationship with them, but I'll talk about that later. Oh, this one is a huge con. So this one was a huge con for me. So you only get 5 paid days off. You'll have off for all of the Japanese national holidays, and there's quite a few. Like there's 1 week for Golden Week, 1 week for Obon, and 1 week for winter vacation, like New Year's. So it's 3 set weeks per per year that you'll have off of work, but it's kind of hard to travel during those times because the whole country is off of work. So hotels are expensive, transportation is expensive, and everything is just overall crowded. So if you're doing sightseeing things, it's like kind of not that pleasant. Sorry, there's a motorcycle passing. Those are all of the cons that I experienced working for an Eikaiwa in Japan. Now let's talk about the pros. To be honest, I had a great experience and I really loved my job. I feel like I got lucky with my coworkers, with my location, which brings me to my first point. One of the pros of working for an Eikaiwa is you have a little more say in where you end up in Japan. I think a lot of ALT companies, it's just kind of like wherever they need you, you go. They like ask you where you prefer to be placed, but like no one ever actually gets placed within their preferences. They end up in like super countryside areas dispersed throughout Japan. But with an Eikaiwa, you have some say. So I told my company I don't want to be in a major city, like put me somewhere that's like a little off the beaten path. I also specified that I want to be somewhere warm because I hate the cold. So I was like, do not put me in Hokkaido, like put me as far away from the north as possible. I originally really wanted Kyushu. I don't know why I was so interested in Kyushu, but I was like, Kyushu seems like it has a lot of nature and it's warm and it's off the beaten path, like put me there. And that's where they placed me. They placed me in Kumamoto. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Kumamoto because of coronavirus, so I lost that contract. But once I was able to get in the country, they found Kochi, which was equally as good of a match for me. And they asked you, they're like, do you want to live here? Like, here's the good things about it, here's the bad things about it, do your own research and let us know. And I really appreciated that part of my experience working for this company. I was so happy with my placement, and they really make sure you are happy and like sure about where you want to live before they ship you off there. Next thing, the company really helped me out with setting up my life in Japan. They sent one of my coworkers with me to set up my bank account. They set you up with the apartment, which I think is great. Some people don't like getting set up with an apartment because they're like, oh, you're bound to the job, which I totally get that. But when you're coming from overseas and trying to find an apartment on your own to a country that isn't super foreigner friendly when it comes to renting out housing, knowing that I had that taken care of by my company was... So for me personally, that was a pro. They also would help me out with my phone if I needed like help getting a phone contract, but I got a phone contract before I moved here. But yeah, really, anything I needed help with, I felt comfortable being able to ask my company and my coworkers for that. Next one, as an Eikaiwa teacher, you get to teach adults. And if you're not familiar with teaching, let me explain to you at least what my experience was. I loved teaching the kids. I did. It was really fun. But it took so much energy and so much planning. You have to keep their attention all the time, and they also don't really want to be there. Their parents are signing them up for this, so you have to really turn on the entertainment, and that is freaking difficult, and it takes a lot of energy. I was exhausted after all my kids' classes. But when you're teaching adults, usually they signed up for these classes, they want to learn English, they are interested in English, and they're interested in having the chance to talk with a foreigner, so you get to kind of form relationships with them and be friends with them. I did a lot of things outside of work with my students. Like, for example, one of my students owns a farm and he gave us a tour of his farm. That was really cool. Another time we went strawberry picking with some of our students. So yeah, I have a lot of great memories with my adult students. Next, I had great resources working for my company. They provided us with training, ongoing training throughout the duration of my employment. There was a phone number that I could call if I had any questions, any difficulties planning lessons, coming up with things, like any support I needed. They were so helpful. And they also provided us with all of the teaching materials and all of the lesson plans, like this is what you're doing this day, this day. I didn't really have to do much lesson prep. I just had to kind of look at the lesson that I had to teach, kind of study it a little bit, make sure I knew how to explain it. That was it. The support was amazing. I felt like I learned how to be a good teacher from that job, and if I do teach English again in person, I feel like I can do it confidently. So yeah, those are all my pros and cons of working as an English teacher for an Eikaiwa in Japan. And again, if you are curious exactly what company I worked for, I do truly think they are the best Eikaiwa company in Japan. I did a lot of research and this one had the best pay, the best support. Again, if you are curious about which one I worked for, send me a message on Instagram. I will let you know. But I just feel weird talking about it and revealing the name. Maybe I will. Okay, the company I worked for was Eon. I worked for Eon. It was great. If you're interested in being an Eikaiwa teacher, I definitely recommend them. But anyway, Thanks for watching, you guys. As always, if you have questions, leave them in the comments down below and I'll be sure to answer them. Please like and subscribe for more Japan things, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.